Hey, welcome back, everybody. You know what time it is. It's time for the RAAD Life. The one show, maybe the only show that shows you the best and the brightest here in Orange County. As our resident raconteur, our community storyteller, wanders the boundaries of our county, discovering what's cool, what's happening, what's hip, who's doing it, and why. All here. And today, his often sidekick and sometimes co-host, sitting in for him, it's Chef Pascal. Welcome back, Chef Pascal.
Thank you. I love that set.
Chef Pascal, you seem to know everybody, at least in the culinary world here in Orange County. And today you're going to bring us together with somebody I've never met before, but I should have, because she's a community chef, special events, and she was on another local station here, KOCI, the low power FM station, not far away here in Costa Mesa. Welcome.
Yes, I met Annie Morgan. Welcome in.
Oh, thank you.
Good
thank
to
you,
have
Chef.
you. And she came into my professional life just a few years ago, and suddenly we just head off very well on the community food service. And she's an amazing catered, amazing producer, large events, special events, and she will talk more about what she can do and what she offers. But we also, when I need it, we share the catering kitchen, and we do events together as well.
Do a lot of chefs do catering, or is that a different world? I mean, you were a chef, you had a restaurant.
You want to answer that?
Yeah.
So I think for me, I started out with catering and then I ended up getting a restaurant, but I've had like various types of, storefronts. So I've had delis, I've had a sit-down restaurant called Taste Buds way back when in Costa Mesa. I think we sat about 75 people we could seat.
Because it seems like a different world to go out and set up and do an event, and maybe it's more of a production line, because we've only got a couple of things we got to do them very quickly, as opposed to, I'm going to show my creative flair tonight, and who knows what I'm going to make.
Yes, Paul,
Yes.
these days, the new generation of chefs, because they cannot afford to open a restaurant,
Right.
so they want to be either private chef or they want to open their catering business.
We had a private show, exactly,
Yes.
exactly, or food trucks. That seems to be
And
the other
because-
thing.
So they don't want to have to deal with leads, staff, all this
Right.
thing, a restaurant.
Yeah.
I don't blame them, especially these days. But once you have a restaurant, it's all about the demand of your client. Say, hey, can you cater my birthday party? Can you get my anniversary? Can you do my wedding? Something like that. So at first, personally, I said I would never do weddings. And then suddenly find a location,
Yeah.
I did like 30, 40 weddings a year. And because it's an entire business.
So you've had
beside
Chef
restaurant.
Bruno in here, another one of the GOATs, the greatest of all time. You guys go back and forth. Who was the original OG chef here? Does he go out and cater? I mean,
Oh, yeah, of
because
course.
he's got a full-time job running his
He has a
restaurant.
full-on catering service and catering staff.
Okay.
And but what Annie, because she came out of the restaurant business and decided to do events, and she is really a producer.
And what kind of an event? So now you're putting on the thing. You're not just getting hired to show up and serve food.
Right. So I have an entertainment background. And so what I did was when I started to do catering, I couldn't stop myself. It was more about how do I produce this and all the parts and pieces that you need to create the event that the bride or the corporate company wants.
Because now it's
So-
going to be an experience. It can't just be good food.
Exactly.
She's still connected with the entertainment industry.
What
Yeah.
did you do? You were talking off camera, but you're going back to get some degree in film or television, or you have a film television background? Or?
Yeah, so I was raised on the stage as a dancer. I'm Hawaiian
Really?
Portuguese. And
Okay.
so I was born in Hawaii on the island of Kauai. And my parents brought my sister and I here at a very young age. And so we went to school, but then we would spend all our summers back home. So we learned our culture. We were
What's
little
back home? Hawaii or Portugal?
to Hawaii. yeah. So, my Portuguese side of the family, my great grandfather found his way to the islands, and so,
Portuguese sailor. Yeah.
right. And actually, my great grandfather was a chef, and I did not know this.
Oh.
One of my cousins did our genealogy, and that popped up. So yeah, so we ended up going home every summer, and we were little Hawaiian girls that were raised in Newport Beach.
And what did you
And
do? Like perform in shows there and stage, I don't know, Hawaiian dance
yes,
things and
yes,
stuff, right?
yes. And so we ended up learning all our cultural ways. And when we came here, my mother worked at Hoag Hospital for many years, and she used to tell the story. They had 99 beds when she started working at Hoag Hospital. And she started in housekeeping. She worked for them for almost 30 years, and she ended up in medical records as a supervisor. And so she would do little island Hawaiian shows for them because they knew she was from Hawaii, and they'd have these little parties. And so she started bringing, my sister and I, we do little shows. And so then that blew out, that grew into something bigger.
I wish you could dance right now.
No, come on.
Don't
Dance for
tempt
me.
me.
All right, so when you're doing this, how did you get into food?
Okay,
Aren't
so
you a dancer?
so I danced throughout my whole life, and at one point I was a dancer at the Tahitian Terrace in Disneyland. There used to be a island restaurant called Kona Hawaii. It was in Santa Ana on Harbor Boulevard. I was a dancer there with various groups that came in and out. And there were some big names from Hawaii that came and entertained. They would pack that house. It sat like 500 people, and they would pack that house every weekend. So I did that. And so I just, decided at one point I found myself a single mother with two children, and I needed an income. And so I started providing lunches to the private school that my son went to.
There you go.
And so that's how it started. And
But you didn't have a culinary training. I mean, chefs.
No.
You didn't go to culinary school. You went to the School of Hard Knocks. You studied in
Yes.
restaurants
yes.
from the early age.
So
huh?
I started with one school providing lunches to them, and I think our first week we did it, they only served it 2 days a week, and I think my first count was like 150 kids. So within about 3 years, I got up to about 16, 20 schools, and we were doing well over 10,000 lunches a week.
Wow. And what
Yeah.
did you make? Just peanut butter and jelly, or?
Well, I started out with a cold lunch because I had to find a commercial kitchen, and I had a friend that owned a chain of delis.
Yeah.
So I used his kitchen. It was the Little Pickle chain,
Okay. Yeah,
right?
I remember that.
Yeah, and so he would open them up, he would build the business, and then he would sell it. So he had opened one on 17th Street called Little Pickle, and so I asked him if I could go in. I'd go in the early morning hours, and I would do it all
Make
by
your
myself.
cold sandwiches.
Mhm.
right?
I made cold sandwiches, all little side dishes. I'd put them in these little compartment trays. I'd wrap them up. I'd put them in coolers, keep them cold. And I was a single
And
mother.
Annie, you haven't changed. Sometimes you work nights and days.
Oh yeah, it's like
That's the way you are.
I am. I pull like 20-hour plus shifts just to
Wow.
get it
Yeah.
done. So, and back then I was a mother of two little ones, so I would have to bring them with me.
But
Put-
did you ever then evolve into? You said you had a restaurant or a
Mm-hmm.
deli or whatever you had.
Yes.
Oh yeah, from that actually, you became a famous caterer for corporate luncheons
Yes.
too.
Because of the client list that I was able to build through the private schools, that's when I started to build my catering side.
Because parents would say, "Hey, do this for us."
Yes. So we owned a few different places. We actually, my husband, I remarried, and then my husband's family stepped in. They bought the Little Pickle, and they changed the name to 17th Street Deli. And then, so I needed a hot kitchen by now, so I went up the street to Sir Rogers in Costa Mesa. I don't know if you remember them.
I sort of, yeah.
Yeah, and so
while ago.
I started using that kitchen, and he wanted to sell that. So then we bought that, and yeah, it just kind of evolved from there. So I started, that's how I built my clientele list, though, was through my
And
private
what
schools.
kind of food did you serve as a private restaurateur? Was it wasn't, I don't hear Hawaiian food anywhere in
No,
here.
I was just going to say I started doing a lot of island events because a lot of my clients lived on Lido Island or Emerald Bay, and so we could do island, at the drop of a hat,
Yeah.
right? My husband's a musician, so we just knocked it out, entertainment, the whole 9 yards.
And with our origins, your culture, the food tastes so different than any food you can get. And love good spices, not spicy, good spices, the right
Because
cook.
Hawaiian food isn't really spicy, but it's got a different flavor to
Yeah,
it.
and some
I don't know what do they put on
some
it.
braising, some
Yeah.
grill, all
Poke.
that
Some
mix.
smoking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
smoking.
Uh-huh.
She loved to
Oh
smoke
my
some.
gosh,
some
I
ribs.
love smoking meats. So, chef, I don't know if I told you, but I'm like gonna dip my toe into the barbecue competitions. I'm just looking for a little
When
one to
did that
start.
become so huge? I'm thinking of, it's funny you say that because I grew up in the Midwest. That was, if cooking, it was no cooking. It was just grilling outside and meat and potatoes. There wasn't a lot of diversity in our cuisine here. But all of a sudden, this idea, it's always been around, but this idea of actual restaurants where you go really high-end barbecue kind of place. And I'm thinking particularly of Heritage Barbecue. I'll give them a shout out down in San Juan Capistrano.
That's really good.
They've won a Michelin star
Wow.
for doing barbecue, really
Uh-huh.
smoked
It's a
meat.
science. It's more than cooking. It's a science.
Yeah.
It's a science. It
it
really
is.
is. That's what I was getting at.
It's all about the wood, the temperature, keeping it at that temperature as you nurse
not
your
drying
wood,
it out.
and not. Yes, and
The
it's
food just gets to be like shoe leather after a while you cook it. That's the way my dad
Right.
used to cook.
Still with some good base of cooking, the
Yeah.
slow braising.
Yeah.
yes,
And
yes.
you actually, the public, we have to tell the public, they can experience some of your presentation recipe at the Orange County Fairground this summer.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I started doing demos over there a few years back. I started judging too. I judge like the incoming baked goods or cakes.
Yeah,
or,
they have all sorts of because it was a county fair, so you used to bring your pies.
And now
Yes,
you're going to
yes.
do demonstrations.
So I've been doing demos. But they need someone to help them kind of manage the culinary stage. So I've been
the MC.
So
Yeah,
anybody who want, any chef who want to showcase something they think they are the best at in Orange County, contact
Yes.
Annie. She may
What
put
do
you
they
on
do with it? I
schedule.
haven't been to the. I hate to admit, I haven't been to the fair in a long time. If I did, I went to watch the peg races, and then
Yeah.
I
Oh, they
go
still
on the
have those.
rides.
Yeah.
But yeah, inside the pavilions are all sorts of its roots were county fairs. You came out and you judged who made the best pickles or who made the best pie.
We
Yes.
even have live competition now.
Live competition.
Yes, on stage at the Orange
So what
County
did they
Fair.
do at the culinary thing? What would I see if I went to the
So if
culinary?
you went into I don't know if they still call it the culinary pavilion, they used to, but in there they have all the, entries of the cakes and they have certain times that they show this.
Right.
So they have cakes, they have cookies, they have like
Pies, right.
brownie bars, blondies. They have pies. They have one organization comes in and they're all about pickling and preserving, and they're
Yes.
there every year. Last year I did on stage. I did demos for quick pickling. The year before I did fondue, and so yeah, in the culinary pavilion they have just a lot of different things
That's all
going
stuff from
on.
when I was a kid in the Midwest. Everybody pickled. My grandmother made pickles or peaches or pears,
Yes.
canned it. Because in the winter you couldn't get fresh fruit
Everything
and stuff.
canned.
Right.
So they would can it and pickle it or whatever and preserve it for the winter time.
Right.
Now they do sous vide.
Sous
Yeah.
vide, yeah.
But well, that was a big deal, and then that sort of went away because now you can get it year-round, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit,
Yeah.
wherever you are in the supermarkets. But that used to be a thing in the Midwest, and then you're talking about fondue. Oh, my parents wanted to have a wild party. They had a fondue party. Oh boy,
That's very
that was
50s,
that was
60s,
50s,
yeah.
60s, yeah.
You mean the meat fondue or the cheese fondue?
The
cheese,
cheese.
yeah.
So
They really wanted to be she. Oh, we're going to do a fondue party.
So when my children were very young, I started this traditional New Year's Eve fondue gathering. And it was just started with my family, and I just started, I had like a wok that I would put oil and butter in. Okay.
Okay.
Not the healthiest, but it's only once a year.
Okay.
And then I had another wok. Well, and it kind of grew into this where I then added like a shabu shabu broth. And so I would
What
put
is that? I
out,
don't even know what that is.
so
Come on,
it's-
Shabu broth?
yeah,
You got
yeah.
me. Was it Japanese something? It must be.
Korean, yeah.
Yeah,
Korean,
yeah.
okay, all right.
They have them all over now. But so and then I started very small. I had like, chicken and beef, and I'd marinate it and I'd put fresh veggies out. And it was fun for the kids because they'd get their little skewer and they'd skewer everything together, and then
Right.
they'd put it into the wok and let it cook. Well, as the years passed, I added a whole array of things, and so I had to take it outside because I put the little hibachi out, and
Probably
then they
because
could,
of the smoke alarm too.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
don't bring it in
I
here.
put the hibachi out. I had the hot pot. I've had it got out of control.
Very good.
So what I did for that year at the fairgrounds is I just kind of showed them what
How to do this thing.
how to
'Cause
do
it's,
it, and
it's a lost art. I don't know anybody that has a
Yeah.
hibachi grill or a wok even anymore.
Well, they figure out,
All that
Right,
stuff was
right.
from my youth. That was if you wanted to be exotic and not have just
Yes.
meat and potatoes. We're going to have fondue. We're going to have hibachi. We're going to do something.
Hibachi
here.
grill is great because it's kind of slow grill.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
no flame. It's just
Yeah,
perfect.
right.
But I'm a little crazy because I took my family for 1 year to the beach for Thanksgiving.
The beach.
Yes, and
Where's the turkey at the beach?
Well, the turkey at the beach was in the deep fryer that I put in the fire pit and dropped that. So I used like 3 or 4 different fire pits, and then I brought a couple of my own patio
You mean
pits.
you did a turkey lua?
Turkey
Kind of,
lua,
yeah,
yes.
A lure, right. Instead of the pig, it's a turkey here.
Yes, yeah, That's what I did, chef. So
wonderful.
yeah, and then I made them play croquet in the sand. Oh no, they weren't having that. No, they weren't having. I said, "Come on, it's fun." And they're going, "No, mom."
So what do you do today now? Where's today? Let's bring you up to
So
today. All these
today,
crazy things you've
I
done. You've done
know.
catering.
She's going to tell
events.
you a few things, but she does more. I'm sure.
All right.
We can develop that.
So today I am strictly catering. I have a commercial kitchen off of Red Hill, and
So you got your
I-
own kitchen now where you prepare all this stuff, right?
Yeah, and I just do a lot of events. What I say about myself is I'm a small company that does big things. Would you say, chef?
Yeah,
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
Well, together last year we did 1,500 lunch.
Yeah.
For
And
Corona
forgive
Del
me,
Home
but
Tour.
most catering companies to me, when I think I'm a little bit of a snob, I'm not chef kind of snob, but I'm at the point where I say,
Chef are not snob.
aren't they? Come on, all these chefs are snobs. But I look at caterers as just as production lines, and so it might be okay, but I don't go to an event for the food. The food is there so I don't leave. The food is there because I'll stay all day. But more and more I'm seeing caterers trying to branch out and say, no, we're going to make this a highlight of
This
the
is
event.
changing.
Yeah,
Now you have great chefs that deliver great food
that's
on
what I'm
large
getting at.
parties
Right.
and catered parties. And because there's more pride into it.
Yes.
And everything is done from scratch. They used to open just boxes of food and then put
Yeah.
it on the steam table. And no, there's some great chefs that cook very well on catering now.
But you're making it in the measurement of it, the quantities of it, the recipes. Now you're making it for 100 people or 500 people or 1,000 people.
it's a production.
Right.
I love big events. That I don't think I could really private chef. I love big numbers. So I just love doing that.
Is it the challenge of doing it, or is it the response of that many people saying hooray?
I don't know.
I think because she can do it.
Because you can do it, right?
I've been rubbing 2 sticks together in parking lots for catered events forever. I mean, there are challenges that pop up. I mean, you can have everything in order, but something's gonna go south, and
Oh,
you have
yeah.
to. I remember one year because I used to do a lot of
And
the
you can't say,
homemade.
come back tomorrow, folks. We'll figure it out.
No, you
I
can't.
you can't. You gotta make
It's
it work right then
today
and there.
Right.
to do it.
Within seconds,
You should
actually.
see the equipment you get, like a full-on barbecue, smoker grill, everything.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
I bring my smoker everywhere. It's kind of funny. And then I went and got me a little uni pizza oven. Well, I got the biggest one they have, and I bring that everywhere with me. I've done a series of concert events where I am feeding I'm the caterer to an A-list of country music artists, and I have brought my smoker. I've brought my uni pizza oven. It's whatever, because we're there all day
Do we ever
long.
get to ride along? I'm suddenly glad we know this person.
Yeah,
Can
I
I
know.
come to some of these things? Yeah.
The only
Can
problem
we
is
sneak in? We'll
the-
be part of the help or something?
the backstage show is so good, the singer can't sing anymore.
I'll bet. I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done a few things for some A-list country music artists. We've done it for like 3-4 years now.
Yes.
Yeah,
And you
there's-
catering the backstage
On
of their
all over.
party or
Uh-huh. Yeah.
afterwards? Yeah.
Long Beach,
Yeah.
San Diego, locally, everywhere.
Yeah, we've gone
When I worked in the
everywhere.
entertainment industry as a publicist, as a press agent for Johnny Mathis and the Police and Anthony Quinn, a whole bunch of people, it was the party afterwards, the party after the Oscars. Oh my goodness, that's where everybody shone.
Well, sometimes they're starving.
Yeah,
Maybe they are because it went on all night, but that was an event. That's where people like Wolfgang Puck really made their name,
Yeah.
running those
Yeah.
after parties.
I am the 3 a.m. girl. I'm the first. We download the whole kitchen the day before. If we're like Santa Clarita, San Diego, Bakersfield, we stay because I don't want my people driving
Right.
that far back
Right.
that late. So I always get hotel rooms and we stay. And I get there at 3 a.m. because I have to have breakfast up for the crew by 6 a.m. And then
Yeah.
from there, we go into prep for lunch. And then from there, we go into prep for dinner. So we're there all day long.
Wow.
And, we have different numbers that we're feeding, but cumulative all day long, we probably feed somewhere about 500 people.
And do you go to, is this anywhere? I mean, some of these celebrities want to throw a party on the moon or someplace. I mean, they want to do something in the middle of
Ooh,
nowhere,
That
you know?
would be so cool.
I will go there.
Would
I
you?
would.
I've just seen, they all got to outdo each other. So it's like, we're going to show up in some remote location, like a film location or something too. And all of a sudden there's got to be a whole production that
Yeah.
appears in the desert or overnight in the top of the mountain or,
So I went all the way to Africa.
see, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, yeah. I had the opportunity and I seized it. I was there for like a month. I was the first one there.
What country did you go to?
I went to Zambia.
Zambia. Wouldn't that be cool?
I know, right?
Down by South Africa.
Yeah, it was so cool. And on my way back, I purposely did a layover in London so I could go to Harrods.
Wow. I've never been to Harrods. Chef,
Harrods
Yeah.
is so special.
Yeah.
The food department, the Harrods is
I never got
unbelievable.
off that floor, chef.
No, you
I
can't.
did not get off that
Really?
floor.
Ah,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's
not
so
just
cool.
a department store, but a place
No,
to
the
eat.
food
Oh
department.
my gosh, it was awesome. I sat and had lunch at this rotisserie bar. And when I saw this rotisserie bar, I
A
was like,
rotisserie bar? I've been
Yes.
to sushi bars. I've never been to
So-
a rotisserie
No, you
bar.
have the whole wall of
Yes.
rotisserie. They have
Yes.
ducks, they have pork, they have everything
Chef, you
spinning.
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I sat there by myself
Yeah.
and I was just watching these prime ribs just,
Slow
roast.
cook, yeah.
And then
Yes.
you have the dripping from one
Oh
meat to
my
another.
gosh.
It's unbelievable.
Yes, yes. I wanted to just stay there. I wanted to get a job there.
I want to move in there.
Right?
So you do these big events all over the place, and why go back to school and get any more degrees? You already got enough learning. What do you need to learn?
Oh no, you never stop learning. You stop learning, you stop growing. I don't care
Chef
how old you are.
retired. He doesn't do anything.
Chef is not. Chef is lying. Let me just tell you that right now.
Doesn't do anything
he is
now.
Lying.
Comes
He
in,
is
does the
not
show,
retired.
goes home.
I don't have the right life. I have the chef life.
The chef
Right.
life. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
You know, what do you think influenced more your food? Your Hawaiian background or your Portuguese background?
Oh,
Totally
that's
different.
a really
Very
good
different.
question. Huh. I think I tend to kind of marry them,
I think so.
right?
And what is Portuguese? I've never been to a Portuguese restaurant. I've been to Basque restaurants, which has some
Pretty
of that.
close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
that in there. And which is what? I mean, they had things like cow tongue and stuff I'd never heard of before. Or something.
Anything sellable you can eat.
Anything, any part of the animal you can.
Any
the
part
tail.
of the pork you
Yeah,
eat
they
it.
do
Any part of the-
oxtail and
Yeah.
stuff, everything.
Yeah.
And then a lot of good farm product in Spain and Portugal, and then everything tastes better. Even the shrimps, or the calamari from the ocean, the octopus from the.
The thing that always impressed me about Portuguese or Spanish food is, what do they call? What's the word I'm thinking about? Little plates, small plates.
Oh, tapas.
Tapas, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that-
that's more Spanish.
That's
but
more Spain.
If,
Okay.
if you go Portuguese, actually, they will put the whole lamb and the whole pork on your middle of the table, and then you just
Carve it up.
Food from it.
So I don't know if I told you, Chef, but if I open another restaurant, I wanted to mimic a seaside, a restaurant in a small seaside village of Portugal.
I told you, I will come over.
Did I tell you that already?
Yeah.
Okay,
We had a
so
talk in the car.
And I would,
Right.
and I
Oh,
would
that's
just
right, that's
tell
right.
you, we have mostly big business people come in and do shows. Many of these people have the affluence and wealth to go anywhere in the world. The hot spot they're all going to is Portugal.
Portugal. Yeah, I know.
I don't know what's so hot about Portugal, but every other week, I'm taking a trip to. I've been here, I've been everywhere there is in world. Portugal. I think it's sort of like Europe, the way it used to be, kind of
Yeah.
more
A
laid
few-
back and
a
simple.
few reasons. The people,
Okay,
the simplicity of life,
simplicity.
Yes.
I hear all that.
the straight simplicity of great food, fresh out of the ocean, out of the farm, and
And just real simple seasonings.
simple.
Yeah,
really
right. Not
simple.
an overblown. We're not going to resorts or something.
And then
I-
you can eat at the beach. You have the little kiosk, so you can have
Right.
great food there.
Yeah, I can see it in my head what I would want it to look like. And I just remember growing up, and because whenever we went back home to Kauai, we would stay with my Portuguese grandmother. And she had a garden, and you walk in her house and you could the guava just permeated through the kitchen, and mango permeated through the kitchen. She was always, always, always making guava jam on the stove. And she
Guava
would,
jam? I don't think I've ever
yes,
had
and she
guava
would
jam.
she would go in her garden and pick these tomatoes. When I was like 6 years old, my aunt made me a sandwich. And I looked at this sandwich, and all it was 2 pieces of the fresh made Portuguese sweetbread that my grandmother would make almost daily, and slices of tomato, fresh sliced tomato. And I thought, I don't know.
And you're talking to somebody who grew up in the suburbs of the Midwest. There was no such thing as a fresh tomato. A fresh tomato was whatever the store sold, which was big and red, but almost tasteless when you cut
Fresh
into it.
tomato, salt, pepper, and great olive oil.
Can
and then
I
that's
just
it.
tell you, this sandwich was the best thing that I had ever eaten, even to this day.
But the bread is good too.
The bread
And
was
I've never had. What is sweetbread? I don't even
So-
know. I always hear sweetbread. I don't know what-
Not the veal sweetbread. The
That's what I was
bread,
thinking. Bread. Okay,
yeah.
right.
So my grandmother, there's a Portuguese sweetbread. So you know the Hawaiian rolls.
Yeah, right.
It's like that.
Okay.
But
I think they may come from Portugal.
yeah,
Because I spent time in Macau.
Mm-hmm.
And Macau is used
Portuguese
to be a Portuguese
colony. Yeah. right.
The food in Macau is a little influence of China on Portuguese cuisine. Unbelievable.
yes,
It's
yes,
amazing.
I know. So way back in like the 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, they had these community ovens. Now, my grandmother lived in a small town called Hanamaulu. There is
Hanahulu? What?
Hanamaulu.
Oh, okay.
Hanamaulu.
Hanamaulu.
Yes.
You have to do the move.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Hanamaulu. All right.
And so there was one road that would lead down to Hanamaulu Beach, and you would have to pass my grandmother's house every time anybody would go. And so many people knew her. And as they drove by, they'd say, hey, Mary, Mary, right? My grandmother's name was Mary. And so
Portuguese. Got to be
So-
a good Catholic name here, right?
I was raised in the kitchen, watching her bake her bread almost every day, and harvesting her fruits and her vegetables from her garden.
I have never seen a human being bake bread.
No.
Bread comes from a store. I don't know how bread is made, but I know
Well,
where to get it.
You
It's at a store.
you are too American.
I am. I've never seen bread
You
made.
used to have every village, every little community in Europe used to have their own community oven.
Yeah.
And
Never heard of that.
They have timeshare. There's
Never knew it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so the thing about those community ovens is they had to schedule
Oh yeah.
when they were going to use
Oh
them.
yeah.
And so, but
24/7.
yes, and if I remember correctly,
3 in the morning, I'm baking bread.
Yeah.
I think there were days where you cooked your proteins in those ovens, and then there were days where you cooked your bread.
Yeah.
But when we were little, and my mother would make her Portuguese sweetbread because she lived with my grandmother for some time after they got married, my father and her, and so she learned all this from her. So when we moved here, of course, she's going to just pass that on to us. So way back when they had Tupperware parties, the hostess,
Yeah, that was
right?
that we did have in
Well,
the 50s.
Okay,
we
so-
come from the wood oven to talk about.
Back to
there's a
suburbia
reason.
again here.
Right, yes, that's where we are
Back
now.
to 50s suburbia.
Right. So they would give the hostess a gift. And one of the gifts was this huge Tupperware. It was like a big square Tupperware. It was pretty deep too, and it had a lid. And my mother would make her dough in that. And back then we didn't have the mixers with the dough hook, right? So my sister and I would have to put our weight on either side of that Tupperware.
Push it
And
down.
my mother, she was so funny. She would put the scarf on like my grandma did, and she'd put the apron on like my grandma did, and then she would just start to knead the hell out of that dough. Just knead it and knead it. And my sister and I would have to hold down with all our weight because that dough, as she was lifting it up, it would lift up the Tupperware too.
I
and
thought
so
bread just grew somewhere in a field somewhere.
the bread tree.
Yeah,
And the
sure.
bread tree, and they pull it off, and they wrap it, and they bring it to Ralph's.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe in the pine trees or something.
Yeah. But so then she would do this thing. She'd put the sign of the cross on every loaf after she got it in the pan. She told me one day the sign of the cross was what my grandmother taught her because everybody that used the oven had to have a symbol on their bread so they knew
recognize.
that was their bread. And my
Like your
grandmother's
branding,
symbol,
a horse brand,
Yeah.
a cow brand, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
And-
you put
Cattle brand.
you put finger mark or whatever. Yeah.
and that's how she would do it with her fingers. And so my grandmother's symbol was the sign of the cross. They were very Catholic. Very
Of course,
Catholic.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Catholic.
Yeah.
All right, so from this Catholic upbringing, now you're in Orange County, putting on big events for very wild celebrities and big crazy corporations. What's next? Where do you go
Well,
next?
there's one more side of them,
Okay.
and Annie. So she's very, very talented floral decorator, floral producer.
designs,
She
yeah.
does enormous floral decor,
Arrangements, floral arrangements.
Yes,
Right.
and you can talk about the few things you did at South Coast Plaza.
Oh, it's coming up. Oh, yeah. I just sent in my application. So every year, South Coast Plaza has a garden show. They've done it
What?
for like years and years and
Okay.
years, like decades.
So spectacular.
I think it's coming on their 35th or something like that. Yeah, it's coming up.
How
It's
have I
like,
missed this? I didn't know. Okay.
you don't get out.
I don't get out. I'm in the studio all the time. It's a cave. I just sitting here.
You
and-
get your bread off a tree.
I have to tell you one funny story. This is my mother would roll her eyes if she knew it was still alive and knew I was telling the story. But I grew up in suburbia. It was like Leave It to Beaverland. It was
my
like Mad
gosh.
Men. You know, it was all. It was just all the food was processed from somewhere else here, and so I went to. I went to Catholic school, so my mother, we didn't have hot lunches. My mother made me a lunch, and all of a sudden I went to a public school. Now my mother was ahead of her time. She was going to have a health nut, so we always had brown bread. I thought all bread was brown, but I'd see on TV Wonder Bread and stuff, but I thought it was all brown. I didn't know one bread from another. I only had one bread. My sandwich was bread. So I went to public school for the first time in like 6th or 7th grade. For some reason, stopped going to Catholic school and go to public school. And of course, they had Wonder Bread, white bread. And I came home. I was extolling. This is the greatest bread in the world. It's gooey and soft and. Ugh.
That's not bread.
And I said, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world." She said, "Well, I tried to tell you this, but I've shielded you from this." And I was so mad at her. I thought that's what I want to eat Kraft cheese on melted on white Wonder bread every day.
So
Oh,
what kind of
that's
bread
so
do you
funny.
eat now?
I'm somewhere in between. My wife's more healthy. She likes more like rye breads and pumpernickels and stuff. And I'm like, just bring in white gooey bread here.
What about good sourdough?
Oh,
Oh
see, I
yeah,
didn't grow up with
sourdough.
any of this stuff. I grew up. Everybody I knew, we were weird because we ate brown bread. Everybody ate white Wonder bread, that gooey stuff, and put Kraft cheese, which isn't real cheese. I don't know what it is, and we've just melt it, and that was it. That was the sandwich.
So Annie, what's your plan for this
Yes,
upcoming
I'm sorry.
floral
Floral
show?
Oh, the garden
extravaganza.
show. So every year they have this big garden show. They do vendors. It's all about what you can do in your garden. And they have like orchid people come in. You can buy clippings of this, that, or the other. You can buy orchids. You can buy all kinds of things. And they have everything from the clippings to shower water, thing for your hose outside
Yeah,
that
right.
has different settings and all kinds of things. So
I just use my thumb. I put my thumb over the end of it here.
So every year they do these designs. They have about, I think this year we have 8 or 9. So I've done it for, I think this is my 4th year. Now, mind you, I don't know why, because they're landscapers. I don't know why I'm doing it.
Yeah, I was going to
But
say, why they bring a chef in?
somehow I got in there.
You are a landscaper.
I am, evidently, I'm a
Your
landscaper.
life is a landscape.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So,
Food
and-
landscape or plant landscape or the
and-
landscape of a party? Yeah.
Exactly. And I've actually got business. So
How weird. How weird.
I know a couple.
When is that coming up? I don't even know when that
She's
is.
also with her husband Charles. They're both like engineers. They build up. They're architect. Like a couple of years ago, they did a whole gazebo.
yeah, so I always have a structure. And one year, like last year, I did a structure with and they give so you can choose what size you want. There's 2 different sizes. I always get the big size, the 12 by 20.
This is at the South Coast Plaza. All
At
right.
Crystal Court side, and they set us all up downstairs on the first floor. And so usually I'm between the Pottery Barn and William and Sonoma. And so
Pretty,
we're,
pretty big brands, pretty
Yeah,
big names
It's a
right
good
here.
location.
yeah, very good location. Last year they put me, I called it the back 40 because they paired me with Crate and Barrel. So they put me back there last year.
And that's across the road. That's in the other
yeah,
part
that
of
was
the-
like on the whole other side of the escalator. It was fine, but I asked them if I could go back to my original space this year. So I think they're going to put me there. Usually they like to put you with who they
And what do
pair
I
you
see
with.
if you go around? You see, what are you
So-
displaying?
What about you? Yeah.
So you see,
You're not cooking, you're showing
no.
something.
So you see an idea for a backyard. And they're all different. It could be a modern look. It could be a vintage look. It could be, last year what I
A
did.
koi pond, or it
Yes,
could be other sorts of
exactly.
crazy
Yeah,
things there.
yeah. And some have water features, some don't. Some have, like a little bar set up. Some have. I mean, it's just
Oh,
all.
I love
yeah.
that. I love that little outdoor place I call my backyard here. We're always trying to experiment with that. It's not very big, but
Yeah.
we're always trying to do
What's
cactus.
like
and
being
gra-
horticulture?
We got to get you close to the mic again. You're leaning back out of the shot.
Horticultural architect, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's your special little space where you craft
Yes.
it, and it suddenly it feels like you're in Hawaii, or you're in the
Yes,
desert, or
yes.
you're in a blooming.
Well, talking about film, ask Annie if you want to have an extravaganza Christmas party.
Oh,
Should we do?
the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
More than
giant figures. Of
more than
Christmas
just
figures.
eggnog and a pile of
No,
presents
no,
here.
it's more than that.
Yes, yes, we do all props. So what I am is a one-stop shop.
An event.
Yes.
This is an
I'm
experience.
Yes, I'm a event production. So I married my entertainment life with my chef life. And
To create a once
yes.
a special memory, a thing that you have
Yes.
to experience to see and
Did
be
you
Yes.
part of
make
it.
a giant snowman last year?
So the year before, not this past one, but
In
the
Orange
year
County,
before.
a snowman?
So I have a client and they do their Christmas party on their corporate campus outside. And so we bring them the entertainment. We bring them the Santa. We bring them, a wandering character.
Yeah,
whatever
right.
that looks like. We also
I'm usually
bring,
the wandering character. Who brought this guy? Oh, that's the wandering character. Right.
and so we do all the food. They have these little bungalows that we create, gingerbread decorating
What?
spot, and then we also do letters to Santa
This is some big
section.
you can't tell us who, but some big corporation puts this on.
Yes, it's a big corporation that puts it
How
on.
do we get to these things, Chef? I want to go see some of these
I
things.
know, right?
Well,
Everybody says
maybe
that
you
to me.
can work for food.
Yeah, well, that's it. I will
for
work
food.
for food. Okay.
So we bring in the props. We set up these, one year we did a whole little Santa's Village. We literally built the Santa's Village. Last year I brought in more of a facade for the background of Santa. Yeah, so, we're like the one-stop shop. So we do
You
props.
create this whole thing.
Yeah, we do props. We do tablescapes.
We're not
we
talking
have-
about small props.
Flowers, food.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We have a flower department. We do all the food. And I love doing cultural food. So, when I was in Africa working, I took advantage of that. And I've done a few African menus. I
Wow.
I
I didn't know
love,
that.
Were you
Look on.
involved with the Academy Awards last year or this year?
which one?
Academy Awards?
No, I was not.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No, be still
The
my
Academy,
heart.
is that what you're trying to say there? The the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
right?
Academy Award.
Academy. So yeah, no, haven't done that. I've done a few, political things. I've done, yeah, but we are, like I said, I'm a little person that does big things.
So if I want to do something big, how do we find you?
You call me.
That's it? Is there a website or is there
Yes,
a
it's Backstage Affair.
backstage affair?
Now, there's a little trick to that because when I decided I wanted to call my company
that
Backstage
sounds kind
Affair,
of a mysterious. I'm going to have a backstage affair.
right? So I
I
spell
don't
it.
know what that's going to lead to.
I
here.
know, right? So I spell it backstage hyphen capital A hyphen FARE.
And why? Just to be
Because-
different?
Just to be different.
A
A
fair.
fair. A
Yes.
fair.
Backstage a fair.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Or you can call me. I will connect you.
All right, backstageafair.com. They go look this
Yes,
up, and,
uh-huh.
and they can get one of these special events created for them. It's got to be $1 million. It's got to be expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, these ain't cheap, folks.
Yeah.
You know, when you want top-notch events,
That's
when you want to impress your staff or impress your client, and things like
Memorable.
that, this is memorable, and that's what she does. Memorable events.
okay.
And that's really what my heart loves. I love creating memories for people. And so when you're getting married,
Yes.
the very first thing I always ask the bride is, so what have you carried in your heart from the time you were little to the day that you're going to get married? What do you want? And that you cannot let go of.
What's that
you've
fairy
carried
tale
in your
image,
heart.
that picture you had with you? Someday I'm going to do this. It's going to be
Yes.
like this.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's kind of where I start. And then we
you
go
know,
from
Paul,
there.
this is a community show,
Yes.
and nothing bigger than great caterers that do weddings and special events, even
Yeah.
a celebration of life. That
I don't know many. This is maybe one of the few or one of the
Yes.
first I've met, because most caterers are, particularly, I go to lots of corporate events, just generic. You don't even know who's there. It's just food. There isn't, maybe you go, that's not bad, but you don't, there's nothing memorable about the catering.
yes,
It's there to serve a purpose.
no, but not with any.
Yeah.
It's a story.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's a story. And I that's why I really listen to the client and what they want, and so that we can tell that story, not just in the decor or in the atmosphere, but right down to the food. The story
Yeah.
has to be told
Why,
all the way
you
through.
do both.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
to tell you one thing I want to talk about.
You lean it on
I
the
want
shot
to-
again
to-
here.
to-
Okay.
I cannot be around.
You love to just, I know, you want to move. You're French, you want to move around, you want to do
Put
this.
my legs on the top.
That's it. That's it. No,
That's the
no,
right
no.
life, no?
That is the red life. That is the red life.
So,
And I'm always telling him to do the same thing. Lean up, stay under the microphone.
Annie is going to be part of our event on Table for 10 on March 2nd.
Oh, that's what this all leads to. And what is Table for 10?
Oh, it's quite the event. I love that
I
event.
guess so.
Yes.
What is Table for 10?
Table for 10 is with a fundraising for actually for a charity foundation I create to raise money for culinary scholarship at Saddleback College.
Really?
And we
Okay.
have about 30.
I know you had the president of Saddleback College in here a while ago,
Yes.
and she was talking, I forgot her name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And she was talking about the culinary program and
Yes.
how thrilled they are for you to be
We
part
are
of
all
it.
connected and ready to have a full-on culinary school in Tustin in summer 2026. But Table for 10, we raise money for culinary scholarship, and we have 30 to 40, depending on the year, chefs of Orange County. They cook mostly table side, a 5-6 course menu
Oh my God!
for 10 guests at each table under the same roof.
What's the how? Where do they? If somebody wants to go to that,
Table410.org.
Table410.org, and I can't even imagine. What do you
And-
ask? What's the ask to show up at the table to get a seat at the table?
A generous donation.
$1,000 probably, or something.
It is a plate. But
Okay.
Annie, are you going to be having a table this year? Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Couple years ago or last year, she had a live statue at the table.
What?
Yes.
Somebody
Dr.
dressed
Akbar.
up as a statue and they moved or something?
Yeah, so I have a friend
Painted
that,
in gold or something?
I have a friend out of Florida. He provides entertainment for Disney World and Universal Studios, all of that. And he and I worked on an event some years back. And it was an event that for a client of mine that was turning 60. He wanted to do an all-white party. So I called
That's the big
on-
hip thing these days. Here.
Right,
Palm
so-
Springs hosts a white party and stuff. there.
So I called on my friend. He brought me live statues. He brought me live lamps, live florals.
Live lamps.
Yes.
Somebody dresses up as a lamp?
Yes. And in the pool, I had mermaids. And
course.
so
White mermaids.
and so as the evening progressed, we started the live statues. We're standing. We did like a pearl. He had a section of his yard that I turned into like a pearl beach. I had big pearls all over, and then we had this.
It's just like, I'm going to date myself, Busby Berkeley musicals where you had 50 dancers and they all were doing some exotic thing, like they're in a giant fish bowl or
Yes.
they're all, you know.
And so it was like progressive. We started with the live statues. We had the live florals at the front of the house when the guests arrived. You don't know they're live until they move and they're on stilts. And so then we did when the party really, after the food and everything, then we had the live lamps come out, and they're girls in just these tight leotards, and the leotards are very cool. He has some that are mirrored, like they're all mirrors, and then they wear the big, like, the 60s big heel white
Yeah.
boots, and they have these lamps on their head,
What?
and they light up. And they're out there and they're dancing and and that's
The
towards the end
lifestyles
of
of the
night.
rich and famous. Who
Right?
knew such things go on here?
At the very
forget
last,
Hollywood. This is in Orange
Yeah.
County.
but at the
Wow.
very last minute, my client said, "Annie, can you get me a sushi girl?" I said,
A
"Really?"
sushi girl.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
and that was a thing for a while there.
What's a sushi girl?
So-
Well, she was the display.
Yeah, she was the display. She laid on the table, and you put tea leaves all over
I think
her.
I've heard of that. You
and
sort of
then
you eat off the
yes,
sushi girl type
uh-huh.
of thing.
Yeah,
There's a
she's
girl.
the platter.
She's the platter. Oh my God.
Yes,
Well, before we
yes.
get too decadent and wild here, before we get into Babylon, Hollywood Babylon kind of stories here, how do they reach you again if they want to find you?
They can call me, Annie
give-
Morgan, at
Phone number?
949-903-0341.
Anything they can imagine sounds like you can do. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
deliver.
Yeah.
The wilder the better.
Yes, we love that.
You wanna-
How simple.
Or simple.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I'm not all glitz and
All,
glamour.
Not all spectacle.
I do backyard little things
A
too.
sushi
So
girl, a platter that you eat. She's the platter and
she's
the
the
sushi.
platter. Yeah.
Okay.
I see.
I won't pursue that.
It's in
I
your
can't
head
get those
now.
on my. All right, I can't get that out of my head here. I'm still wondering, is she raw like the sushi, or is it?
You pick sashimi or sushi.
We covered her up in certain areas.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Certain areas.
We got our floral out.
Oh wow, that was the whole show. Just came to that. That's all I'll remember. All right, I've certainly a memorable conversation. I don't know how Chef knows all these people, but he does, and I thank you for joining us here today
Hey.
on
It's
a
my
very
pleasure.
wild edition of the RAAD
Culinary
Life.
connection community.
That's it. All right, thank you so much for joining us here today.